All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. Should be below the video if you're on a smaller screen, or to the right of the video if you are on a larger screen. All right. So I will start here with Reagan. So Reagan says at chipping, I hit 90% of the balls out of the toe. What might be the reason and what to do about it? I don't have this issue with mid irons and long irons on full swings. So it'd be hard to say without seeing your swing for sure. But some common things that I see would be number one would be really the main thing that's probably happening is your hands are probably working to the left. So you're probably bringing the club up and then you're bringing the hands to the left through contact. And when you do that, that's going to bring the handle closer to you, maybe a little bit too much. And that pulling of the hands to the left too much through the ball can lead to that. So I maybe feel like the club is working from the inside and the hands are maybe working out away from your body a little bit. Maybe don't hit your wall, but allow your hands to kind of work out away from your body a little bit with those chips, and it may help you. But it's hard to say without seeing your swing for sure. What I do know is if you change your intention to hitting it off of the heel of the club, that will more than likely move the strike to the center. Because right now you're trying to hit the ball in the center of the face, but what's actually happening is you're hitting it off the toe. So if you change your intention to hitting it off the heel, line up the way you normally would, right? Don't line up on the heel. That's what a lot of people do is they'll try to fix a toe strike by lining it up on the heel. That doesn't usually work. Sometimes it may have some positive effects, but they don't usually last. They may have, you may fix the problem temporarily, but a lot of times we'll adapt to it, and a lot of times it doesn't help at all. So just set up to the way you normally would, and then actually change your intention to hitting it off the heel, and it will more than likely move those strikes more to the center of the face. But if I had to guess, the reason why is because your hands are probably working. You're probably bringing the club out like this and then cutting across, and the hands are moving to the left too much through contact, bringing the sweet spot toward you too much, which brings the toe more into play. So look at yourself on video. See, okay, are my hands, am I kind of bringing this club kind of raking across the ball? And if you are, then feeling like you're swinging a little bit more from the inside, and then feeling the hands and the club head going a little bit more out away from you through contact may help you to get that working a little bit better. So John B says, "Hi Q, liked your drill using the alignment stick to help maintain lag by turning the body, not flipping the hands. I worry though that if I slow or stop the body turning, I can lead with the hosel or the club and not just hit to the right, but hit a shank. Your thoughts?" Yes, that can happen if you. So it's kind of the opposite of what Reagan was talking about, right? What's probably going on with Reagan is he's kind of pulling his hands to the left. Well, a lot of times, so that drill that he's talking about is the stick drill here. So you take an alignment stick, put it down the shaft, and then you try to hit shots. Start out with kind of shorter shots where you're not letting that stick touch you, right? So if I come here, if I'm like this, in fact, the stick's not touching me, but if the stick smacks me, right, then I'm throwing the club head too much, right, and I'm early releasing too much. So this is a great one to kind of help you feel the turn, how your body needs to turn through the shot, and give you some good feedback on what you're doing. So if you do this drill by just pushing your hands forward, where you're just kind of doing this, right, that can lead to those hosel strikes that you're talking about because you're just pushing your hands forward, right? You need your hands to get forward by virtue of turning your body, right? And when you turn your body, what's going to happen? Your hands are going to work to the left, right? Your hands are going to work in through contact when the club head's working out, right? So hands in, club out, right? That's what's going to be happening there. So that will neutralize things. But if you come through and you just push your hands forward and the club's out, well, that can definitely lead to shank. So you need to make sure that you're turning your body through. Oops. Things are dropping behind me. All right, so John C says, "Hi Q, one problem I have at hitting at a target that is at the left. My misses are all over the place." Hold on. One problem I have is hitting at a target that is at the left. What do you mean a target that's at the left? My misses are all over the place. I can't seem to get set up right. I don't have the issue if the target is straight ahead. Okay, so I think I answered. I think you may have asked this question in a different office hours. So first of all, if you ever ask a question during office hours and you are unable to see the question, you can go to the archived office hours and see the answer to your question instead of having to wait the next time to ask it again. But I think the problem is that you're thinking of targets of being to the left or to the right, right? All the targets are just in there. The target is just in the direction of that's right in front of you, right? So I think your mindset is the problem. It's not that the problem is that the target's to the left, which I'm not exactly sure exactly what that means. What you mean by that? That might be part of the problem. Is I might not be understanding your question. But to me, it seems like you're saying maybe a flag that is on the left hand side that's a problem. Well, you shouldn't be going at flat. If pin is tucked on the left hand side, don't go at the flag. Go at the center of the green. You'll hit more greens if you do it that way. It's the same thing if the green's on the right. Go for the center of the green. You shouldn't be lining up any differently based on the target being to the left or to the right. The target is the target. You don't need to aim. You just need to aim at your intended target. So the flag is not always going to be the target, right? So if you have trouble with a flag that's on the left hand side, don't aim at the left hand side. Aim to the right. So Missip says need help on bunching up in my swing. I'm not sure what that means. Can you ask in a different way? I'm not sure what need help on bunching up in my swing means. I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. What are the ball flight and contact issues that you're having, or contact issues? Not enough solid hits. All right. So a solid hit, a non-solid hit could be you're hitting it thin. It could be that you're hitting the ground before the ball. It could be you're hitting it off the toe. It could be they're hitting off the heel. Um, Narrow it down for me so that way you got to peel back the onion to know what's going on there. Because if you're not hitting it solid, it's one of those things. You either have poor ground contact, meaning you're not hitting the ground in the correct spot, or you have poor face strike location. Right? It's one or the other, or it could be both. You know, you could hit it chunk in off the toe or something like that, but it's generally going to be one or the other. So that's what you have to evaluate. You know, and what's going on. Typically, that's going to be a stable fluid spine issue. Almost always, if you are having trouble with poor strikes on the face, it's typically going to be a stable fluid spine issue. So that's what I'd be looking at first, is working through the stable fluid spine course. Based on the information that you provide, that's about all I can really tell you. To get to the stable fluid spine course, click the instruction tab, then click the stable fluid spine, or click the top speed golf system and the stable fluid spine from there. Sorry, dehydrated. So John B says, "Is the straight line release the secret to hitting the ball to our target? I work hard to align myself to the target, but I miss left or right? Should I feel and kind of see my club swinging out to the target, or just make a swing after good alignment and expect it should go to my target? No, the straight line release is not really the secret to hitting the ball at your target. Hitting the ball in the center of the face and having a square club face and a neutral path, it's not really a secret, but those are what you need to do to hit the ball toward your target. So here's what you want to live by here. Right. So first, you want to look at if you're not hitting the ball in the direction of your target. So let's say you set up your alignment, right? You go to the range, you put an alignment stick down, right? You point it at a target, and then you hit balls, and the balls are not going in the direction of where you are lined up. All right. Now, if the balls are going in the direction that you're lined up, then it's just about replicating that same thing on the course, right? But if they are not going in the direction that you're lining up on the range, you're hitting it left, right, or whatever, right? Then the first thing you need to do is look at where you're hitting the ball on the face, right? Because if you're not hitting the ball in the center of the face, then you can't really look at what you need to do next, right? So the first and foremost thing is you got to be hitting the ball in the center of the face. If you don't hit the ball in the center of the face, you just can't expect to hit the ball in the direction of your target. All right. So what that means is check where you're hitting the ball in on the face. Use foot fire spray. There's also another method that you can use called the dot method. So the dot method is where you take like a dry erase or washable marker, you fill up the dimple on the ball with the ink. You can use a Sharpie too. It's just a little bit harder to get off of the club. But if you use a dry erase or washable marker, it'll just wipe right off. And then you set up that dot to where it'll make contact with the club face, and then boom, you're gonna know, what's going on there, right? Most of the time, you're gonna have a tendency. Most of the hit 10 shots, see what's going on. Most of the time, you're gonna see there's a tendency. It's gonna be either toward the heel or toward the toe, or maybe in the center, right? You're gonna have some sort of tendency. So if you're hitting it off the toe, then what I'd recommend doing is change your intention to hitting off the heel. If you're hitting it off the heel, then I'd recommend doing is change your intention to hitting off the toe, right? So that's how you fix that, right? So now let's say you're getting the strikes to be in the center of the face, but the ball is still not going in the direction that you want. All right, so here's what you want to live by here. And I recommend maybe writing this down because it is a little bit hard to remember, or it's a little bit hard to, gather in one time, right? So, and I'll repeat it, right? So if the ball is curving too much, or it is curving in the wrong direction, then you need to change the club face direction, right? Again, if the ball is curving too much or in the wrong direction, then you need to change the club face direction, right? Because that means, assuming that you're hitting it in the center of the face, what that means is that the face is either too open or too closed to the path the club is moving, right? And you have to change the club face. You have to get the club face in line with the direction the club head is moving in order to get the ball to go straight. Now it may go straight right or straight left, but at least it's going to be curving. It's not going to be curving too much. It's curving in the direction that you want, right? So let's say that you hit a ball and you're trying to hit it straight and it's a slice. Well, that means that the face is too open. If it's slicing, the face is too open, right? If you're not wanting to hit a slice, right? Then what you need to do is you need to get the face more closed. The easiest way to do that is with a stronger grip, right? A stronger grip is where we take our lead hand, put it more on top, trail hand more under. That would be a stronger grip. This would be a weak grip. That would be a strong grip. If we take the exact same swing and just have a stronger grip, then the face will be more closed, right? It's the easiest way to fix it. Now, let's say that the ball is hooking, right? The ball is hooking too much, right? Then the face is too closed. Then the easiest way to change that is to have a weaker grip. Go toward more of a weaker grip to get the face less closed. All right. So change your grip, alter your grip, weaken or strengthen it depending on the direction that it's curving to get it lined up. Right. So once you have the ball, the face and the path lined up with each other, if the ball is still going in the wrong direction, right? So let's say the ball is curving the direction you want and the amount you want, but it's still too far right or too far left, right? So let's say you're trying to hit a draw, but it's actually a pull and then it draws, right? So it's got the amount of, let's say it's got like a 3-yard curve on it, and it's curving to the left like you want to draw, but it's just starting too far left and then drawing left. In that situation, then you need to swing more to the right because you're swinging to the left too much. The key to understanding with this, is to understand that the face is going to go with the path, right? So if I'm hitting kind of a pull draw, right? If I shift all of that to the right, if I shift my path to the right, my face is going to go with it. And then I'm going to get a push draw, which is what you would want, right? You want the ball to start to the right of the target, then draw back toward the target, right? It's that simple. It's really not anymore. I think people really, really complicate this. I promise you, it's not any more complicated than that. Get the ball in the center of the face by seeing where you hit it on the face. Once you see that, then you can boil it down to your face and your path. And then first you look, is the ball curving too much or in the wrong direction? Then you change the face. Easiest way to change the face is with the grip. Once you get that change, then if it's still not in the right direction, then you have to change the path, either more into out or more out to in. That's basically your way to getting it back toward your target. So John C says, no, I'll ask again about the target on the left. Many times the tees will be on the right side of the box, while the fairway or green will now look to be to the left. This situation is hard for me to get aligned or make a good shot. The errors are all over the place. So it's just mental, right? That's really all it is, because the target is still the target, right? It's just they've moved you over here, right? So you're just coming at it from a different angle, right? So you need to think of it the same way, right? So you align yourself the same way. Yes, it's annoying when the tees are pointing one direction when you're trying to hit another direction, but you really just have to overcome that. I don't have a special tip or drill or something that's going to make it all better for you. You need to kind of forget about where the tee is pointed, right? And focus on your ball and the target that you're trying to hit it to. That's it, right? Because if you focus on that, then it will probably mess you up, because it's going to make you feel like you need to be swinging that way when you need to be swinging more to the right. So focus on where the ball is. Just don't even how the tee box is set up, whether you're on the right or on the left, none of that matters. It only matters that here's the ball and you're trying to hit it at that target out there. That's the way I would think about it. If you try to think about it like the way that you're trying, it is going to mess you up in the way that it seems like you're thinking about it. All right, so Misip says, at a pro tournament this week, watching the pros chipping, the majority hit it where the ball spins and checks. I like it, but what is secret? Should have said checks quickly. The secret is contact. They're making good contact with the ball, and they're probably I would assume they're using a lofted wedge, right? So you have to make clean contact with the ball, and also the conditions. So here are the best conditions to be able to get the ball to spin. All right. So one would be a high lofted wedge, right? We need to have a high lofted wedge, like a 60 degree. You can get a 56 degree to spin too, but 60 degrees is generally going to spin pretty well. You need to have a very clean club face. You cannot have a dirty club. If there's any moisture, any debris, any dirt, anything on the club face, that it's going to reduce the amount that you're going to be able to spin it. All right. Next comes, so once the equipment is good, also the golf ball. You need to have a golf ball that can spin. If you have a golf ball like a Pinnacle, it's not going to spin very much, right? A Noodle, not going to spin very much. right? You need to use a tour caliber golf ball, so like a Pro V1, something like that. Any golf ball that a tour player uses is most likely going to be able to spin. I don't know of any tour players that don't that use golf balls that they're not able to spin. It probably wouldn't be very smart unless they're just getting paid a lot of money to play a golf ball that's like that. But yeah, you need a golf ball that's in like a Pro V1, TaylorMade TP5. Any of those, they're going to be able to spin. All right. So high lofted wedge, at least 56 degrees, 60 degree would probably be better. Very clean club face. Fresh grooves help. Fresh grooves help for sure. And then also a golf ball that has the capability of spinning. After that, it's about the contact, right, that you have between the ball and the club face, right? So the conditions that you need for that contact, ideally, it would be dry and it would be tight and firm. Dry, tight, and firm conditions are the best for getting the ball to spin. Now, the golf courses that we see on TV, most of the time, they are dry, tight, and firm. Most of the time, that is what you're seeing. We don't typically see golf courses where tour players where they got a lot, where the fairways aren't tight. They're almost always tight. The reason why that is important is because if anything gets between the ball and the club face, that will reduce friction. We want more friction. The more friction we have, the more spin you can generate, right? So if you have moisture, if it's really wet, if it's dewy, you're not going to get as much spin. If the grass is tall and plush, right? There's grass around the ball. There's grass getting between the club face and the ball. Again, it's not going to catch the ball. If it's really tight, then you're going to get less grass between the ball and the club face. If it's really soft conditions, then that means the club may dig, and that means that that club may get some grass or moisture or whatever between the ball and the club face. If it's firm, then it's not going to dig into the ground, and again, less contact or better contact between the ball and the club face, right? So those are the things that those are the conditions that you need to have, and then it's technique, right? So having the proper technique to be able to make good contact with the ball. Having the ball too far forward, too far back in the stance, right? You can make great contact with the ball far back in your stance. The problem is that you're going to be de-lofting it too much, and de-lofting it too much is going to reduce the amount of spin. So we want loft. We want loft to create that spin, right? If you don't have loft, then you won't create that spin. That's why I would say at least a 56 degree would be something that you would want to be able to create that spin. And even opening up the face can help as well. A lot of times you'll see they'll open up the face a little bit. So if you put that ball back in the stance too much, oops, sorry, my doorbell just rang. All right, sorry about that, solicitors. I wish we had a no solicitation thing, but all right. So yeah, talking about the spin, right? So basically, the technique that I would like to use, or that I like to use for a lot of spin, would be ball pretty close to the middle of stance, maybe just forward of the middle of stance, open club face a little bit, right? And then I like to keep this shaft maybe just leaning forward ever so slightly, not a ton of shaft lean. This is going to promote a lot of digging and also de-loft. I don't want a lot of digging of the club. I want this club to kind of glide on the turf, right? And what I also like to do is I like to turn back and turn through with my chest. And that's going to allow me to come in nice and shallow and to be able to kind of skim this ball off the turf, right? So having that good turf interaction, right? So kind of like this, right? So if I do that, right? That's going to allow me to make good contact with the ball, right? So if you don't make good contact with the ball, you're just not going to have consistent spin, and the conditions have to call for it, right? So just to review, high lofted wedge, I would use a 60-degree, um, clean club face, clean grooves, get all the dirt out of the grooves, clean club face, no dirt on the club face. Good golf ball that can spin, right? So like a Pro V1 would be what I would recommend, is a good spinning ball. And then as far as the technique is concerned, feet close together, ball a little bit forward to the middle, a little bit open with the club face, shaft just leaning forward, maybe slightly or straight up and down. And then we're just turning our chest back and turning our chest through and letting this club kind of hit the ground and get underneath the ball to kind of get it kind of pop it up, right? And if you do that, you can get some good spin. But again, the conditions a lot of times are going to dictate what kind of spin you can get, because if you don't have dry, if you don't have tight, right, you may not be able to get the kind of spin that you're looking for. So that's going to take learn by doing. That's going to take some practice. Go to your local place and chipping green and practice that. So John C says, during a round, if you start losing your tempo and rhythm, what can you do to get them back? Practice swings, right? That's really that's all I use a practice swing for, is to just kind of get the feeling of the tempo and rhythm, right? So a lot of times I'll get behind the ball and I may just take like a practice swing. It's just to kind of get a feel for the tempo and rhythm. So that's what I would use a practice swing for. I feel like a lot of people, I see a lot of amateurs, they'll kind of get next to the ball and they're using the practice swing as an actual, like the simulation of what they're trying to do, right? And I'm actually not a fan of that. I would rather you actually kind of visualize what you're doing and only use, when I take a practice swing, I'm not hitting the ground, right? A lot of times I see people take practice swings, they're taking divots. But that's also not great for the course, like take unnecessary divots. So yeah, I'll get behind the ball, and all I'm doing is just to kind of get a feel for the rhythm and the tempo, so that way you kind of stay in it. So practice swing would be what I'd recommend. So Andrew K says, Q, I'm at the distance clinic tomorrow. Did I see there is a shuttle from the west into the course? I can't find the info. Thought I saw it. Thanks. To be honest with you, Andrew, I really don't know. That'd be a question for Robin. I saw that you emailed Robin. I will hope that he'll email you soon regarding that. Sorry, he hasn't emailed you yet, but I honestly, I wish I knew, but I really don't know. So Robin will get back to you with that information when he can. If I had to guess, there isn't a shuttle, because I don't think I've seen anyone show up in a shuttle. But usually, I'm out on the range as people are coming. I guess it's possible that there's a shuttle, because I'm usually on the course, but usually the people that get there before me have driven there. They either rented a car or had their own car or something like that. So yeah, it would be a short Uber ride. And there may be people, there might be people at they're staying at the hotel too, that you might be able to ride with. Obviously that may not be possible on the first day, but on the second day, it may be. All right, we got about 30 minutes left here. You got any more questions? True for the ride home and day 2, exactly. Yeah, so and hopefully tomorrow, I haven't looked at the weather. Sorry, it's been crazy around here today. Busy. I haven't looked at the weather. Let's see here. Today it's really nice. Let's see here. So tomorrow, a little bit warmer. Looks like it's gonna be nice tomorrow. Ooh, chance of rain on Wednesday. Hopefully that's later in the day. Yeah, so it looks like maybe some rain coming in the afternoon on Wednesday. So, but in the morning we might be good. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be really nice weather. 70s mostly. Cool. All right, let's keep going. So Ed D says, "Hi Q. At a course I play frequently, there's a par three with a 140-yard carry over water. I frequently hit into a stiff wind. Two clubs yesterday. The hole has gotten so far into my head that I'm unable to hit a decent shot to clear the water, even though I easily hit a normal 8 iron, 145, 155. I've taken more club and swung easier. Try to hit a full shot. Nothing seems to help. How should I handle hitting into the wind, especially high anxiety hole like this?" So, what I recommend doing instead of what I don't recommend doing is like taking like a lighter swing and swinging easier. Just take whatever swing you hit the ball best with. A lot of times, if we try to swing easier, it kind of takes them out of our proper rhythm and tempo, and our timing usually isn't very good. And sometimes that doesn't lead to better contact. A lot of times it doesn't. So take whatever rhythm and feel of swing that feels the best for you. And what you may do is use extra club, but choke up on the club. This will do a couple things. So one, that extra club, it will take a little bit off of it. So maybe you hit like a 6 or a 7 iron, right? But if you truly hit a 6 or 7 iron full blast, it may go way over, right? So um, so yeah, so think about it that way. You choking up will take a little bit off of that, but also taking less or a lower number club like a 6 or a 7 has less loft, so it's going to have less effect on the wind, right? So, so yeah, depending if it's a real stiff wind, 145, your 145, 155 club is not going to do it. You're going to need to hit probably a 6, and I would choke up on a six. There's room over the back, so I'm good with going long. Yeah, that's the other thing too. You got to think about. I think about like your number. What's your number to the back of the green, right? And think, okay, whatever my number is to the back of the green, I'm just going to try to hit it that far, right? So let's say it's 140. You say, okay, so you're saying it's a 140 carry. So the 140 is carry over the water, right? So you need, I don't know if the green's like right on the edge of the water or what, but I would be going for basically the back of the green. So let's say the back of the green is 170, just to, yeah, 165 to the back. So let's say it's 165 to the back, right? Well, your 8 iron is definitely not going to get to the back, even if there's no wind in your face, right? You would actually need a big tailwind to get it over the back with an 8 iron, right? So you probably need to hit at least a 6 iron and maybe choke up on that 6 iron, depending on the wind, right? And you could even, if it's a stiff wind, you can even hit a 5 iron and choke up on it. This reminds me a lot of the Players Championship 2 years ago. So 2 years ago at the Players on 17, the Island Green, the famous Island Green, it was a stiff wind. It was like a 20, 30 mile an hour wind, and there were a lot of water balls, and there were guys that were trying to hit. I was shocked at the shots that I was seeing being hit, and like people were still trying to hit like high lofted clubs. Well, when you hit a high lofted club that spins a lot into a wind like that, it's hard to hit it straight because the wind is just, if you're just off a little bit, that you have to be dead straight. Otherwise, any amount of curve on it, it's going to multiply, right? Because of the spin. So the only person that I saw that played that hole properly, or played it, I shouldn't say properly, but played it the way that I would have played it, is Justin Thomas, and I think he hit a 5 iron on that hole. Now, granted, that hole is like 150 yards, and we're talking tour players. Tour players can hit their pitching wedge. I think Justin Thomas probably 150-yard club is his pitching wedge, if I had to guess. And he hit a 5 iron. He choked up on a 5 iron, and he hit a five. He just kind of hit it a little low. And when you hit it into the wind, right, it's going to make it spin more, right? Because the spin or the wind will add spin to the ball. That's why it won't go. That's why it won't go as. That's one reason why it won't go as far. Part of it's because of the resistance, and part of it is because it adds so much spin, right? That's why the wind hurts you more than it helps you, right? Because if you hit on a downwind, so a 20-mile-an-hour wind in your face is going to take more off of a shot than a 20-mile-an-hour wind that's behind you, right? So let's say you hit a 9-iron into a 20-mile-an-hour wind, right? It will take more off of that than if you switch the wind around and made it 120-mile-an-hour wind downwind, right? Because downwind, it lowers the spin and it pushes the ball down, right? So it's not going to go as far. It doesn't help you quite as much. So I think a lot of people have the idea that it helps you just as much. It actually um, it it doesn't help quite as much. Actually, I have. Let me see if I can find that. I can't remember exactly how it is. Let me see here. Since we don't have any questions, I can talk about this. I think he can help you. So Andrew Rice, he's a instructor, awesome instructor. Trying to find. So he found a pretty good formula to understand like what um hitting into the wind and with the wind, like how much of the wind takes off and helps. I remember that from a little while back, and I can't remember exactly what the formula was. Let me see if I had it in some notes that I had. Oh yeah, here we go. Um, so a 5-mile-per-hour wind will take off about 5 yards, right? Um, so he's saying 5-mile-per-hour wind will take off 5% of the total distance plus 5 yards. That's not what I saw from before. Let me see if I can find this. Sorry, bear with me. I'm trying to find the. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, it's yeah, the wind in your face hurts more than a lot of people think. So Steve says, "Hey Q, looking for an encore swing thought to hit my long irons not thin when I really need to hit them clean." Well, typically, what's more than likely going on there is you need to hit your long irons the same way you hit any other your irons. If you're hitting your long irons thin, most likely what's going on is you're just pushing your ball position too far forward, right? So that's something very common that I see with most people. It's not really even really a swing thought that you need to have. It's probably just a setup adjustment. Because if you're hitting your irons thin, what that means is that the club is bottoming out where the ball is or before the ball, right? So the club comes down on an arc, right? So it works down, 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 then it works up, right? So in order to hit a ball solidly and to be able to take a divot, the club needs to be working on that downward part of that arc, right? Well, when we hit the ball thin, typically that arc, the bottom of that arc is occurring where the ball is or before the ball. And if that happens, then your best case scenario typically is to hit it thin, right? Now, you can hit it solid if you have like a perfect lie where the ball's sitting up on the grass and there's some cushion underneath the ball that you're able to kind of like hit up on it a little bit or hit level with it. But generally, you need to hit down on these shots. So yeah, you need to probably move the ball position, play the same ball position as you do with your 8-iron. I imagine you will hit your long irons better. Now, let's say that you do that. You already do that. Your ball position is good. You're um, you play it in the same place that you play your 8-iron. Well, if that is the case, then stop trying to help the ball up in the air, right? Focus on hitting down and through the ball. Hit it the same way you hit your 8-iron, right? Let the loft do the work, right? A lot of times, what I see people do is with these long irons is they try to help the ball up in the air. So maybe your ball position's good, but then you kind of hang back and you try to help the ball up in the air. Well, if you do that, the bottom of your swing is going to occur behind the ball, right? So you need the bottom of your swing arc to be in front of the ball, and then you'll hit those long irons solidly. And if you do that and your long irons come out too low, then you probably need to get fitted for your clubs because you don't have enough loft on your irons, or you probably need to have hybrids replacing those clubs. It takes so the evolution of golf clubs is really the problem for this, right? Because every year they need to somehow make the clubs longer, and one way that they do that is by actually making the shafts longer and also making the lofts stronger. So basically, you may have a 5-iron, but in reality it's like a 3.5-iron, right? It's between a 3 and a 4-iron with the loft. So that de-lofting does make the ball go farther, but the problem is that it's making it to where you might have basically a 2 or a 1-iron loft. The 1-iron that Ben Hogan was hitting might be the same as your 3-iron if you have a 3-iron in your bag. If you have relatively, within the last, I would say probably 6-7 years clubs, because they've just made the loft so much stronger, right? So that's definitely part of it. I remember. So I had the original AP2 Titleist AP2 irons that came out. Titleist makes awesome irons. But I had the original Titleist AP2 irons, the original ones that they came out with. And I remember like 3, 4, maybe 5 years later, they came out with maybe their second or third iteration of the Titleist AP2 irons. And they were talking about how they made them longer, right? And they had all these people in this commercial that were hitting shots and like, oh, I hit this 10 yards further than my normal 7-iron. And I was thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. So I went on because I'd like to pick up 10 yards. That'd be pretty sweet. So I go on their website to look at the specs, and I compared them to the specs of my clubs, and the lofts were like 2 degrees stronger, right? Well, that's basically like half of a club, a little bit more than half a club stronger. Well, yeah, you're going to hit the ball, 10 yards farther, if you do that. So that could be part of it as well. So a 7 wood is going to be. I don't know what the. Again, I'm not an expert club fitter, so that'd be probably a better question for a club fitter. Steve asked, "What are your thoughts about using a 7 wood instead of a hybrid or a long iron?" There's, I don't have any experience really hitting those really those high lofted woods. There's tour players that have 7 woods or 9 woods or something like that. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick has like a 9 wood or a 7 wood or something like that, and he says it's his favorite club in the bag. So, that'd be something to discuss with a club fitter. I don't know I honestly don't know what the advantage of a 7 wood is versus a hybrid of the same loft. It might be a little bit more forgiving because of the weighting of the club can be a little bit different. But really, the advantage of a hybrid over an iron is that the center of mass of the club is going to be lower, right? And that's going to help get underneath the ball. It's going to help you hit it higher, right? So if the weight is lower, it's going to allow you to be able to hit it higher. Whereas on an iron, they're going to put the perimeter. They're going to have perimeter weighting, right? So that's going to put the weight a little bit higher on the club, which is going to move the sweet spot a little bit higher on the club, right? Whereas on a fairway wood or a hybrid, that sweet spot's going to be lower on the club, which is going to allow you to hit it higher, right? So that's why I generally recommend, and also you can make them really light. So you can swing them faster. right? They're generally like titanium heads and things like that. So there's that aspect of it too. They also have they're hollow, so you may get a little bit of that trampoline effect, whereas you don't get that as much with an iron. So yeah, I don't carry a 3 iron anymore. I have a hybrid. I have a 3 hybrid. So because I a 3 iron which just wouldn't get high enough. Now if I played where I need to keep the ball low and hit like runner stinger kind of shots, I'd probably carry a 3 iron. But most of the places I play, it's better, much better for me. Like when I need to hit, a longer approach shot to have some air underneath it to get the carry. All right, we got about 13 minutes left. If we have any more questions. So Brett W says, at what point in the swing do pros shift their weight to the front foot? Generally, it's going to be about halfway back or so. So they're going to be maxing out their pressure in the trail foot about halfway back, and then the pressure is going to start shift. That's when the pressure starts shifting, right? Where it maxes out is going to be in the downswing is when that's going to be maxed out. But in the backswing, that's when it's going to start moving that way, right? So at address, I'm typically going to be about 50-50, right? And then I'm going to start my backswing. Even before the club starts going back, you're going to see pressure starting to increase into the trail foot. Then as I'm going back, about halfway back, this is going to be where I'm going to be this is where my pressure on my trail side is going to max out. I'm going to be about 75-80% my pressure in my trail foot about right here. Then as I'm getting up to the top, I'm actually starting to move my pressure into my lead foot. And by the time I get to the top of the swing, I'm going to be about 50-50 again, right? So 50-50, then 75-80 trail foot, then back to 50-50, and then I'm going to increase in my lead foot as I come down into impact. I'm going to be about 75-80% my lead foot at impact. Ray S says, I'm hitting my longer irons well, but struggling to hit my wedges consistently. So if you're not hitting the ball consistently, what that means is that you're struggling with the four aspects of impact, right? Or some one of them or some of them, right? So you're struggling with one of four aspects. So one is your ground contact, right? So and it's in this order of importance, because if you're not making proper contact with the ground in relationship to the ball, then none of the other pieces really matter, right? Because you're just chunking it or topping or thinning it, right? So so ground contact, that's number one. Number two is strike location. So this is where you're hitting it on the club face. So maybe you're making great ground contact, but you're hitting the ball on the toe or the heel, something like that. That will create inconsistency, right? The next piece is your club face direction, right? What direction your club face is pointing at impact, that will cause inconsistency, right? So if the face is pointed left, pointed right, so on and so forth. And then the club path. We want to have a relatively neutral path down to the ball. If you're coming down way too steep or too much from the inside, that can cause inconsistencies as well. So those would be the things that I'd be looking into. If you have more information, I can maybe give you something specific on what you can do, but you got to look into those things. So look into where you're hitting the ground in relationship to the ball. Put a T on the ground and next to the ball, so that way you can see where you're hitting the ground in relationship to the ball. Right, that would give you a good indication there. Most likely, if you're chunking it, so let me know if that is the case. Use foot power spray, spray it on the club face, see where you're striking it on the club face. That's an easy way to see where you're striking on the face. If you're making great ball first contact and you're hitting it in the center of the face and the ball's still not going consistently in the right direction, then let me know what the ball flight is like. Are you pulling it? You hooking it? You slicing it? Pull hooking it? Let me know, and I can offer you some help with that. So Mike R says, how can I use variability training to learn hitting the club in the center of the face? What would be the exact exercise sequencing? So what you can do is you can hit the ball off the toe, off the heel, and off the center. That'd be one thing you can do. So line up to hit a shot. Hit as many shots as it takes you to get it dead center in the center of the face. Count how many reps it takes you, right? Use win, pass, lose, stay, which means if you're successful, you go on to the next task. So if you win, you pass. If you are unsuccessful, you lose. Then you have to repeat the task. You make an adjustment and repeat the task. So let's say I do this and I hit it off the toe. Well, I need to make an adjustment, maybe try to hit it off the heel, and then to move the strike more to the center of the face, all right? Then on the next one, I'm going to line up the exact same way, but I'm going to try to hit the ball off the toe, right? Hit as many shots as it takes you to do that. Now, keep in mind, when you don't hit it in the center of the face, the result of the shot may not be pretty, right? But that's not what you're going for. The goal is to hit it on the toe. It doesn't really matter where the ball goes after that, right? It's only that you're able to change that variable, right? And then you keep going until you get that, and then you go toward the heel, right? And I would do this exercise until you can get 3 out of 3 on it. Once you get 3 out of 3 on it, then what you can do is you can make it more difficult to achieve. Because in order to get better at something, you have to make it increasingly more difficult, right? If you keep doing things that are easy, you'll improve to a certain point, but then you'll plateau. You won't keep improving, right? So if you want to keep improving, you have to keep making it more difficult, right? So before you could just sell out and just do you could hit it way out here on the toe, right? And that would count as a toe strike. But maybe now, to make it more difficult, what you could say is it has to be off the toe, but it has to be within a ½ inch of the toe. If it's more than that, it's too much. You got to adjust and try again, right? So that'd be an exercise that you can do, and then you keep making it more and more difficult. Make it a ½ inch toward the toe. If you can get to where you can control the strike on the club face within a ½ inch of the center of the face, you're going to be pretty good at hitting the ball in the center of the face, right? You're going to be able to hit it pretty solid. It reminds me of the video of Tiger when he was talking about the driver, the new driver that came out with TaylorMade, right? He's talking about the new driver and how forgiving it is. And he said he hit some off the toe on purpose, and they were still really, really solid and dead straight. And then he had the foot power spray on the club face, and he showed the club face. He said, look off the toe. It's like, well, that ball was like a ½ inch off the toe. If most of us saw that we would be happy that it was that close to the center of the face. But to him, that's a toe strike, right? Because he's used to hitting it dead center in the middle of the face. So that's, if you can get to where barely off the toe feels like a toe strike to you, then you're going to be hitting the ball pretty well. So that'd be an example of one thing you can do. Vary where you hit it on the face. All right, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. Thanks everybody for joining me. We'll be back here tomorrow. Is going to be 3 p.m. Tomorrow, and we have a clinic tomorrow and Wednesday, so I'm unable to do the 11 o'clock time, so we push it out to 3 p.m. so we can still have office hours. So tomorrow will be 3 p.m. Wednesday will be 3 p.m. Thursday will actually be 11 a.m. And then no office hours on Friday. All right. So thanks everybody, and we'll talk to y'all next time.